So the surprising ways that addicts and alcoholics manipulate others is pretty much endless. Anybody watching this that has been connected to an addict or an alcoholic for some time has pretty much heard it all. So we got to start from the vantage point of what the addict and the alcoholic is doing and why. An addict and an alcoholic manipulates because their whole goal is to keep the status quo. I remember my first day of graduate school, one of my professors had asked the entire class, he had walked in and said, "How many of you believe that addicts and alcoholics lie?" And the whole class, of course, raised their hands. And he said, "Well, you're all wrong. Put your hands down." And as we grumbled, he started to explain himself. And he said, "Is it really a lie if they believe it, if that's their reality?" And some of you, if you've gone to any type of Al-Anon or if you've talked to others, there's an old saying in AA and NA, Alcoholics and Narcotics Anonymous, that the addict and the alcoholic will lie when the truth would even suit them better. But the biggest things I want families to take away from here is the guilt, the hope, the fear, and the victim. And I think the biggest thing families hang to is that hope that one day they will self-correct, or one day the nightmare will be over, and that maybe one day the promises of "I'll do something about my problem at a later date" will come to fruition. So the ways that addicts and alcoholics manipulate is by convincing you that if not for their horrible life or their spouse or whatever their excuses are, they wouldn't have this, they wouldn't have to do what they're doing. It's always somebody else's fault. So the manipulations stem from the character defects and the behaviors and the shortcomings that drive the addiction. Resentments, blaming others are the two biggest ones, and of course, anger and fear. So the manipulations, and they're not so surprising, but to people who are hearing them for the first time, they are really just your loved one trying to convince you that if not for some other person, place, or thing, they wouldn't be in the position that you're in. And of course, the guilt of, if you don't do this for me, then this will happen to me. And that also instills fear. So addicts and alcoholics use these surprising ways to manipulate to keep you from doing something. Because if there's one thing I want to remind every family watching this, is that they need you more than you need their addiction. And if that were not true, they wouldn't have to manipulate you to keep the status quo.